My name is Asa, nice to meet you, and welcome back to my channel if you already know me. So today is a very important video for me because I'm going to do oil painting, and I have no experience in oil painting. Well, it is a little bit of a lie because when I was in college, we had one lesson of oil paints. It was 2 or 3 hour lesson and that's it. So what I learned from oil painting from my college is, well, first I did a terrible job. We were painting still life and my still life was not very good. Second, basically you need two things, oil paints and something to dissolve them. So back those days, I used some other type of oil, I don't remember its name, and it worked pretty well. But this time, I read on the internet that you can use oil solvent. It will make your oil paints less dense and more liquidy, kind of like you use water for gouache. And of course, I have big box of oil paints with me here today because I had a birthday recently and my husband gave me this huge box. It has 36 colors. I hope it will be enough. It has 2 whites, 6 or 7 shades of green, which is perfect for me because I love painting landscapes, flesh color, which is nice for portraits, and yeah, basically other standard colors that I will use hopefully. And for the canvas, I have this little wooden board that I bought like a year ago, but I haven't used because I was super into my sketchbook and I don't know, I just bought it and didn't use it. So I thought it will be amazing for trying my first serious oil painting. And I honestly don't know how oil paints will react to the wooden board, so we'll see. And yeah, as I already told you, I have no experience in oil painting, so hopefully it won't turn out ugly and I won't make too many mistakes, but that's fine, you know, we have to start somewhere, right? So as always, I would recommend you to grab your own art supplies, make some nice beverages, and let's paint together.
From what I read on the internet, it is very helpful to sketch your future painting with oil paints as well. I don't know why, but I just followed this advice since I'm going to paint landscape. I chose dark green for my sketch and it worked great. Our next step is underpainting. I don't know how important this step is, but I decided to do it anyways. In my opinion, you can absolutely skip this step. I usually do underpaintings when I paint with gouache, for example, but I don't think it is very important. I was unsure what color I should use as the first layer. I decided to work from dark to light just because this is how I always paint and it worked well. You don't have to work with layers as I do and apply dark and light colors at the same time. Oil is not transparent medium and gives you a lot of creative freedom. Right now, I'm just splashing colors on the board and trying to get used to this medium. I thought it would be similar to acrylics, and it is absolutely not. The texture is dense and harder to spread it on the surface. Colors mix in a different way. It is hard to explain it, you just have to try it and you will understand what I mean. And of course, I had to mention the smell of oil paints. Not sure if it's only my paints, but they do have strong smell. I liked it, but it's not for everybody. I was afraid that wooden board will make it harder to paint and colors will look different, but as I mentioned before, oil paints are not transparent, so you can paint on any surface. It shouldn't affect your colors too much. First hour of the painting I struggled with the new medium. It was very unusual for me that paint doesn't dry, and it is not easy to paint something on top. I didn't know how much time I needed to wait before my next step. This is probably the main reason why I didn't try oil paints before. I didn't want to leave my comfort zone and admit that there is more to learn about painting, and how happy I am now after making this decision. No other medium feels like oil paints. The texture you can create with it, bright colors, and this weird feeling of being on the same team with cool artists is absolutely worth it. My only fear is I might forget about gouache for some time. I doubt I can use oils in my sketchbook, which means I'll have to abandon sketchbook as well. I've seen other artists use oils in sketchbooks, but I don't understand how long it takes them to dry paintings and if there's the way to make this process faster. I didn't buy specific brushes for oil paints and decided to use my old brushes. They are very cheap and the quality is not the best, but it actually didn't matter. So, one more tip I can give here: brushes don't matter. It is my beginner's advice, of course, but if you just started painting with oil or want to try oil paints, you don't need fancy or expensive brushes. Just don't forget to clean them properly after painting or you will ruin them forever. As for the palette, I believe you can use absolutely anything. I used my favorite $1 plate from Goodwill. The only thing about this plate I didn't like is small dent it has on the edge. Oil paint gets stuck there and it is hard to clean. I would recommend something flat like piece of glass, plastic, wood, or even thick paper like cardboard. Alright, I want to go back to my painting and talk about beautiful brush strokes. I think I'm slowly turning into Claude Monet. I was so impressed with the nice texture I could create with oil paints. I always wanted to touch it with my finger, and I actually did it couple times and ruined my painting. It is unusual for me to wait for hours until I can touch my painting. When it comes to the shape of my brush, I use the same technique as I would use for acrylic or gouache. I used round brushes for plants and flat brushes for the house, and it turned out well. Also, one thing I noticed, it is nice to have paper towels or napkins or anything to clean your brushes. Since it is oil, you can't clean it just by putting your brush into the water. And something to protect your table with. I used my old notebook, but it would be better to cover the whole table while painting. And of course, don't forget to protect your clothes. I really want to try and paint portrait next, but I'm not sure I will be able to paint nice and smooth skin with oils. While using gouache or acrylics, I could water down my paints and paint with super thin layer. I'm not sure what to do with oil paints. Maybe I just need to embrace new style of painting. I will also try my next oil painting on the proper canvas, not on the wooden board, and hopefully it will make the process easier. I was hoping to finish this painting in one day, but it took me a long time to get used to the new medium and waiting for the paint to dry even a little bit because it was really hard to add little details. So I decided to let it dry and come back to this painting tomorrow.
good morning. It's the next day today, and yesterday I was so naive and I thought I will finish my painting in an hour or two. Guess what? It didn't happen because, well, I didn't realize. No, I know oil paints take forever to dry, but I thought it wouldn't be as complicated as it was. Anyways, I tried to paint, so basically I painted all the main objects, but I couldn't paint tiny details like little branches or tiny flowers. So, I decided to let it dry a little bit. Maybe it will dry, maybe not, but today's the next day and I hope I will finish this painting, but at this point, I'm not sure. Anyways, yeah, it was interesting experience. Well, let's grab our supplies again and try and finish this painting today. This is where I stopped painting yesterday. I worked a little bit on the house and on this area, but I stuck here because I wanted to add little tree branches here, but the surface was too wet, so I couldn't do it. And I wanted to add yellow flowers here, and I also couldn't do it. So I left my painting to dry one night, and it dried. So basically, the lesson of yesterday was if you paint thin layer of oil paints, one night will be enough for it to dry.
Of course, the paint didn't dry completely, but at least it dried a little bit in some areas with thin layers of paint, so it allowed me to paint all the elements I couldn't paint yesterday. Basically, what is left is tree branches I just mentioned, flowers and grasses. I didn't film it, but I actually finished painting the house yesterday, and as you can see, the house is made of couple brush strokes. But because oil paints create this nice texture, it gives the house some dimension. It might even look detailed when in reality it is not. I guess one more lesson I learned today or yesterday is oil paints are not the fastest medium to use, assuming you're not just sketching with it or doing quick abstract painting. So let's sum up everything I learned from using oil paints for the first time. First, you only need oil paints, oil solvent and brushes to start with. Second, oil takes hours to dry, so keep it in mind. Third, oil paints are messy. Protect your furniture and clothes before you start painting. Advice number 4, oil paints smell. Be careful with it. Advice number 5, in my humble opinion, the way you paint, I mean your style, doesn't really matter. Oil paints don't require certain techniques to look good. And tip number 6, any brush is a good brush, but don't forget to clean it. After using oil paints, I can tell it is going to be one of my favorite mediums. I'm not ready to say I like it more than gouache, but I definitely like it more than acrylics because it gives brighter colors and creates nice texture which I struggle to achieve with acrylics. Well, I'm almost done with the painting. I think it's a good result for the first time and not gonna lie, I'm proud of this painting. By the way, if you are interested in the reference photo, I'll have a link in the description box. It is time to sign the painting and enjoy the final result.
today. I definitely enjoyed my first time painting with oil. It was amazing experience. Some lessons I definitely learned today is first, oil is it's really hard to paint with oil. It's not easy, right? Especially for the person who, I used to paint with gouache and acrylic all the time, and my skill and in gouache and acrylic, it doesn't necessarily help me with oil paints. I mean, the understanding of like composition, shadows, colors, it is helpful, but how I worked with oil, it was absolutely different. So I struggled a little bit there. Also, I didn't have proper brushes, so it was also a little bit of a pain for me, but I think for the first time it was fine. I definitely am going to buy proper brushes, maybe some other tools, maybe better palette for oil paints. What else? As I mentioned before, oil paints dry for a long time, so you should keep it in mind as well, because it affects working with layers, and you can't, paint something, wait a little bit and paint on top of it. It's just not going to happen with oil paints. You need to wait at least a day. Second, the smell is pretty strong. Maybe it's just my paints, I don't know, but yeah, they smell not too bad, but it's kind of strong. Also, I don't know what was the problem, but I was very messy when I was painting with oil paints, so it really helped me that I had a roll of paper towels with me, but it didn't stop me from painting my hands, my legs, my clothes. So be very careful with oil paints, because once you get it on your clothes, it will stay there forever. Anyway, I think I'm very happy with the final result. You can see it here. And I'll try to show it to you again, but it's still wet. And my next plan for the next video was to make a portrait with oil paints, but I'm not sure I'm ready yet, so I'll probably practice a little bit more with still lifes or landscapes, and when I'm ready, I will paint oil portrait, but it's not going to be next video, I think. Well, and I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video, and as always, I want you to stay positive, stay creative, and I'll see you in my next videos. Bye!